back in the office of the CEO, Paul Cruikshank, for another Paul Unscripted. Morning, Paul.
Morning, Kelly.
How are we?
Very good, thank you. So you struggled to get the surname out. You wouldn't be the first person to do that, or last.
It's just because it's an early morning and I've only had one sip of my coffee. All good?
Yes, sort of.
Busy.
A lot
like
happening.
We say that every time.
Yeah, but this is now bordering on chaos, but that's a different conversation.
That's a different conversation. Today we're talking about leadership style.
Okay.
First things first, how would you describe your leadership style?
I would say engaging. I like to chat to people, whether that's WhatsApp or phone call. I'm not the best on email because I can be quite rushed and quite short. So often misinterpreted, and then sometimes I send it and I think, ugh. That's also a danger of WhatsApp, by the way. So yeah, I try to connect with my team in particular, catch up, have coffee with them, because you have a much better conversation one-on-one, which is mostly structured, but can also be unstructured in our chats.
And so there's definitely something to say for your leadership style with your leaders and your teams, but what kind of leadership style do you respond well to if you think of the people above you? Your bosses.
Yeah, so now I've got to be careful because they listen to these podcasts, Kelly. So now you've got me. No, so for me it's support. It's the right guidance. It can be the right probing to make you think. I do appreciate that because we haven't got all the answers to some of the challenges we face. We're quite open about that. So certainly coming with ideas, getting us to think a bit differently, think from a different angle. You know, they're not in the detail. Which is very helpful. So it's often a good place that they come from to actually get us to think a bit differently. So yeah, I think all around we get good support.
So, I mean, you've been a CEO, you've been a leadership position for a huge number of years.
Too long.
Would you say your leadership style's evolved?
Definitely.
Tell us why, how?
Sure, that's hard to. I think it's situational. I often say this to my team is that I do treat each one of them differently. I have a completely different way of interacting with Rob as I do with Daryl, as I do with Jason, as I do with Andre. So, and that's just because they're different people. So I adapt the way I work to them to some extent. And some of it is about how much structure they are bringing. And funny enough, the least structured person in the names that I mentioned comes with the most structure to our catch-ups, interesting enough.
Interesting.
And then the person who most people would think are the most structured comes with just like, sometimes I haven't really thought about this catch-up, but let's wing it for an hour, which we do. I'm not going to mention names. People can guess those in the organization can guess for themselves.
I was going to let you go and mention their first name and second name, because remember now the podcasts go external.
100%. So I try and do that as well. And I think what they've worked out is that I also don't necessarily, and I wouldn't definitely not call myself perfect, try not engage in meetings on things which maybe are said that I don't necessarily agree with or like. I sometimes do it on the side, but I do have my say.
Yeah.
And I think they're beginning to realize that more, that holding people to account differently also happens.
Yeah. And I suppose you have to have a huge amount of trust with your leadership team.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And it goes all ways. They've got to trust me. I need to trust them. But we've spent a lot of time as a team investing time in our team development.
Yes.
Through various sessions. We try twice a year to get away for a day or two and just talk through various sessions. And it fluctuates between being call it more structured and coached to being less formal, sit around the bar with a glass of wine and have a real heart-to-heart. So we do a little bit of both.
And in the view of Paul, what builds trust the most? Out of all your years, what builds the most trust?
Well, said differently, you only get one opportunity to break it. So that's a massive thing. But I think it actually varies by person. Some people will start trusting and then you just get your opportunity to break it. Others getting to know the person and understand where they're coming from, I think makes a massive difference. So it takes time to build trust. You need to invest time and connect with the people I'm going to say on a personal level. And I'm not talking about necessarily personal time, but you actually got to get to know the person really well.
You got to know what makes them tick.
100%.
They need to know what makes you tick, I suppose. As a leader, what feedback have you ever received from a team below you that's changed your thinking?
So it's hard to give an example, Kelly, but what I will say is I listen more to conversations that are happening, and that gets me to think. I think I've spoken previously about time to think.
Yes.
And I need to have that capacity to clock thoughts and what people mention. So I listen more. And this popped out of a podcast the other day where I spoke about, I think it was the use of social media with kids, and it was a video I saw in December holidays that my nephew showed me, and then he WhatsApped me and he said, "I see you using content in your podcast from a chat that him and I had." And I said to him, "I'm always looking for content for either podcast or change in thinking, and are we doing the right thing?" So there's a lot that clocks in my head, to be honest.
So do you hang out a lot at the water cooler?
I can no. But I listen carefully. I listen more carefully than people think. I get into trouble at home, by the way, because then often I'm distracted because now I go into my own thoughts and my head's clocking on something someone might have said during the day. And I'm trying to figure out, do I need to care about that, or do I just put
So you're
that
not
in the
listening
past?
so hard at home.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation. We won't get them on the podcast because then I'll be in a lot of trouble. But yeah, I try and get content from, not content, but I try and listen to perspective and things that are said, and then wonder where that person's coming from. And then if I wonder too hard, I'll find them and see if they had a something behind what they said.
So you'll go straight, so you direct. I mean,
100%. Yeah.
I'd say that you're quite a direct leader.
Everybody knows that. Sometimes it gets me in trouble because I say things I shouldn't.
Last question on leadership. What do you expect most from your teams and them as leaders in your business?
So live our values is the most important thing. And then a high expectation on execution and delivery. But also done in the right way.
Yeah, so the how.
The how is vital for me. It doesn't mean you don't have to be tough, but you don't have to shout and scream at each other. But get it done, but get it done in a way where everybody's peaceful and build that trust, like you say. We're all trying to do the same thing, and we'll get to the same destination. But the how is critical, and I think we've made massive strides in the organization. If I look through the most senior leaders, I'm not just talking about the executive, down to all of our D uppers, we've made significant strides in our how, and at the same time in building people within the organization with which requires a high level of execution. So I think we've made, I'm not saying we've arrived, but I'm saying we've made significant strides.
And we're going to continue with it, right?
Absolutely.
I know that was my last question, but I do have one more question that's bouncing around in my head. You're an avid fan of Rassie.
Yes.
You know his leadership style.
Yes.
Do you buy into that?
Well, look, he's got a very different leadership style. He is also quite direct in many ways. So yeah, no, look, there's lots to learn from Rassie. I do watch a lot of his videos and podcasts, and as I've mentioned previously here. But like anything, I also was a big fan of Steve Jobs. But if you got to pluck the nuggets out from these leaders. People probably say the same about me, which they can. Pluck the nuggets out. And what they do, both of those names shows, is that no leader is perfect.
Yeah.
They've got good and they've got some bad side, and pluck out and mold yourself around the good things that they do. But no, Rusty's done a phenomenal job. I mean,
he's winning. That's
well, not only that, he's created something that's completely unique, and everyone's playing catch up. And as they try and catch up, he's moved to the next thing. It's actually hilarious to watch.
I suppose for anybody in any kind of role within our business and kind of are trying to push their career and grow into leadership, the one great thing we have now with social media, podcasts, lots of, I'm going to call it multimedia across platform, is that you have access to all these different leaders.
Yep.
And it is about exactly that. You probably chat to a few people that work for Steve Jobs and they would say he's a complete nightmare. The beauty about having access to how they lead is you get to choose your nuggets. Would you agree? Because
we previously had to read books about these people, and now you can listen to them in a podcast.
But you mentioned earlier, you you read a lot and listen to the podcasts and see a lot from different leaders, and it's about taking the nuggets from each of them to develop your own leadership style.
It's not only that, it's also what I try and do is pick out what's relevant for our organization at a point in time, and it changes. You can go through a good period, and then you can go through a period with enormous turmoil and things not so that's going to happen. It happens more frequently than it should, maybe, but it happens. So that's where you pick out these little nuggets, and how do we shift us into a different place? If you're going through a bit of turmoil, how do you shift to a different place to get you out the other side? Because you will come out the other side. It's just a question of how and when.
And who's coming with you?
True.
Thank you, Paul. That was
Thanks,
very
Katie.
enlightening, and we'll chat to you next week.
Cool. Cheers.